long as we normally do. But nonetheless, there I am. And behind me is my little Christmas tree. And what we should show is what I see in the garden. Let's see if. The day. And so, without more ado, we'll get on with the way that we normally do. Well, that's where we are, and now this is who we are, I think. Yes, we are Mirador Television, broadcasting out of Lewes in the southeast of England, in the county of East Sussex. We are the county town, small though we be, a town of about 17,000 people, but a delightful town and a lovely town. And hopefully we can just put that up in the background, and so we should. And if I we are full of the joys of snow, snow, snow. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. Although the headlines this morning, which we'll go to in a moment or two, are tragic, as often this time of the year does bring. But for the moment, I'm Keith Hayes, known as locally as the Mouth. Can't shut up, got an opinion on everything, and I let it be known. is people turn away from me in the street, or the more aggressive come up looking to see whether they can find me with my spectacles not on, so that they can punch me in the nose. But nonetheless, Mirador Television is like Marmite. Some people like it, some people hate it, but nobody ever forgets it. So you join us this morning, and we'll try to entertain you at least for about an hour before we actually go away and do our various things that we normally do on a weekday, and particularly on a Monday morning. I have opted not to go into the White Hart this morning, and I'll tell you why. Because I have Parkinson's. I try not to show it. Not that I'm ashamed of it. On the contrary, is I don't hide it from anybody, although some people do. It makes me shuffle, makes me look like an old man well before my time. I'm only 83. And goodness gracious me, that's not very old nowadays, is it? And but by the same token, as it does tend to make me fall. And in the slippery conditions, I decided it was better not to take the risk. Partly because I fell a couple of weeks ago, and I still have a little bit of ache in my ribs, where I fell badly. And those ribs can't take too much pummeling. So I decided to on the side of caution. So let me say that I'm not a coward. I was perfectly willing to face the elements, but the advice of my colleagues and co-workers and all those people who are surrounding me is do it from home, Keith. Do it from home. Don't take the chance today. I most certainly will be back tomorrow. And anyway, if the snow lets up, I have to go to Crowborough tomorrow afternoon. And my first time into Crowborough, I've been through it, but I've never been to it. And it will be an adventure. And I want to be prepared for that. Okie dokie dokie. I am going to actually invite Suzanne Musho to join us, or whether she will be able to or not, I don't know. But she is a delight. She's in New York. She is one of our wonderful correspondents, and she's always been up to something that the rest of us would be very envious about. So hopefully we'll get Suzanne a little later with her usual sense of fun and adventure and life in America, which we all wonder about. Not many of us really do totally understand. Now, we have here Melissa Conte, who has said, "Good morning, Keith." And it may be that we might be able to get Melissa. Why don't we actually invite Melissa as well, shall we? That's a good idea. One never knows, because she's equally as bubbly. And let's see. We're trying to do this properly. And who knows? Who knows what delights we might have on this very cold and not miserable. No, it's quite nice. The snow is there. If I can find the snow, yes, there's the snow, and if you get rid. There we are. That's all that's going on in Lewes at the moment. Well, there's much more, I'm sure, but I think it's now time for us to take a look at the papers, because that's what we offer you in the first thing in the morning, and a comment, and the Metro and it front pages a disaster, because somewhere near to Birmingham is some children were playing on the ice in a lake, and the ice gave way. I guess it's just not too cold enough yet for the ice to be thick enough to bear too much weight, and through they went. And they're trying very hard to save the things. 999 rate to save Ice Lake horror victims. Well, now here is a treat for you, because you don't have to put up with me. Look who's here. Oh, and a very, very good morning to you. And here is Melissa. Wow. Now this is a treat and a half. Have you got young Mark there?
Young who?
Young. Well, to me, you're all young. Melissa is actually the guest of, because we're a big network in Mirador Television. Even though we're a tiny station, we're a big network, and young Mark was one of our key correspondence for a long while, until he's an architect by trade, until he started to build huge buildings, and couldn't find the time to join us regularly. But anyway, are you enjoying yourself there in Guildford?
Yes, very much.
It's a beautiful little city, isn't it?
It is very nice. I'm actually about to go shopping over at Marks and Spencer.
Ah, now it's strangely enough, people in the United States and Canada like Marks and Spencers, don't you? It's sort of a brand that is stuck in the United States.
I've not really seen it where I'm located, but it's really quite nice. So I'm actually going to go buy some food. So
Well, now you know what they do extremely well: a Melton Mowbray pork pie.
oh, that's not exactly on my diet, but that sounds
You
interesting.
better put that on your shopping list, and give it a try. You can get baby
Yeah.
ones, so you don't have to wreck your diet too much.
I'm more a salads, fruit kind of gal.
Now, it's nice you keep us up to date with Connor, your son, who also is a correspondent from time to time, and does exciting things like making beer and making various foods and so on. And he's leading quite an exciting life at the moment. So how's his career going?
Well, he's still working as actually they're putting him on camera more and more as a correspondent for
Good.
NHK. So, and then he's going to be, he's looking into, the Marines are interested in hiring him, and the Air Force.
Oh, so he's got lots of options.
Yes, he does. Yes, he
Right.
does.
Now, if he went to the Marines, I mean, we know that if he goes to the Air Force, he's going to fly planes that go faster than sound. If he goes to the Marines, what would he be doing there?
He would be flying as well. He'd be flying under the Navy. He'd be a naval aviator.
Oh, right.
So either way, a pilot.
Uh-huh. And that's his love, isn't it? Airplanes.
That's what he wants to do. So
Yeah.
I
Well, at
support him.
some stage, we must try to get him to fly into Vancouver and runway 08. There is a novel, goes back to the 50s, called Runway 08. And for about a couple of years, I flew in and out of Vancouver Airport 5 days a week, twice a day along runway 08. And it always thrilled me when I actually saw 08 come into view and we stuck the nose of the little Cessna towards it and floated down and landed. So that's something for him to try. The other thing is that I'll let him into a secret. How to get home to see Mum is
yes, he's actually a bit under the weather in New York, and it snowed quite a bit yesterday in New York. I see it snowed here, but just a little bit. In New York, you're talking, there were some years we've gotten 24 inches of snow.
wow.
Yeah,
Yes, here I doubt if it was an inch.
yeah.
But that's a
It's
lot for
very
us.
pretty here.
Yes, it is.
I have to be careful when I'm walking out the door. So
Indeed.
I
It
don't want to
it
slide
gets
down
very
the
icy.
hills. Yeah, it's very icy. So I have to be
Yes.
in New York when it's icy and when it's snowing, they come out with the plows and they come out with the sanders because there's more snow. And so it's a little easier actually to get around, believe it or not. But
Ah.
here I think it just stays icy.
Yes, we're not ready for it. I can
Oh
remember
my God.
actually being in Vancouver one winter when we had a particularly harsh winter, and we actually had to send to Montreal to get snow moving equipment because Vancouver didn't have any. It was so unused to having heavy snows.
I'm gonna need to buy some snow boots while I'm here. I didn't bring
Indeed.
them. I brought pretty stylish boots, little heels.
Not expecting it to. But just let me tell you the tip that I've got for Connor is one of my university colleagues and also a great friend joined the RCAF as it was then after university and was posted for training at Gimli in Manitoba, very northern part, and it was notorious for fog. And he liked to fly down to Vancouver on the weekend. And so the tower said to him, "I'm terribly sorry, Hugh John, zero visibility, but roll the jet out to the end of the runway and we'll see if the fog lifts," which he did. And they said, "Oh, Hugh John, it's lifted, go." Boom. Well done, Hugh John, you just got off, it's dropped again. So there's his tip to come home to see Mama.
I'll let him know. He's coming he's coming here in a couple of weeks.
Yes, I need a date for that because he's going to come and show sample his beer.
We're thinking maybe 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th, one of those days.
Oh, those are
We'll
good
be there.
days because that week between Christmas and New Year is rather a dead week, and that's when we can do exciting things. So yes, good, excellent. So let me know, and I'll have the High Sheriff on standby, who also happens to be the chief brewer of Harvey's.
That's good. Let's hope that I know he made the bitter. I don't know how he's going to get it here, but I'll leave that up to him. Hopefully, he won't create an international incident at the airport.
Well, he'll smuggle it.
Anyway, Keith, I'm going to go food shopping.
All right. Well, just before you go, I don't know whether you had a chance to see the headlines this morning, but as usual, because we are so unused to this sort of weather, there is always a tragedy. And some children were playing on a lake, on the ice on a lake near Birmingham, several of them, and the ice gave way and they were plunged into the lake. And there have been rescue attempts, and they're not absolutely sure even now whether they've got all of them out. So it's very sad that I mean, such a pretty scene leads to tragedy, but that's on the front pages of most of the newspapers this morning.
Oh, that's a shame.
And very sad it is. Yeah.
Terrible. Oh, well, I'll pray for them. Hopefully they'll find them.
Okay. Well, go to M&S, get your oysters, get your champagne, and don't forget the Melton Mowbray pork pie. I'm going to check on you tomorrow. I'm going to call you and get you on and make sure that you actually picked up the part and you've tested it.
Okay, Keith. Good speaking.
All right,
to
darling.
you.
It's
Bye,
good to have you
everybody.
on. Enjoy your day.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, that was a little bonus. Not from New York today, but from Guildford. In Surrey, I think, isn't it, Guildford? I know that we used to try people in our sizes here, our Crown Court, find them guilty, and then ship them off to Guildford to be hanged. We knew which bits to keep. Okay, the Mirror. Big Freeze Nightmare, Children in Ice Lake Terror. And it, let's see, is a witness tells the paper 2 youngsters fell into the lake before at least 3 others tried to rescue them. And soon they were all in trouble. So that 5 people falling into the ice, 2 going through directly and 2 in the trying to rescue the 2 that had fallen through. The Daily Express also follows up with that lake horror and shows pictures of rescuers probing the waters. Nobody is quite sure how many people are in there, so they don't know how many people they are looking for. The Daily Telegraph, the same, children in a frozen lake plunge. I mean, this is normally such things would not make the front pages, but this is so horrific. And so unexpected. And I suppose the snow was unexpected as well. Matter of fact, what I should do is I should try to move a little bit. Oh, why should I move? Why don't I move this? So we might be able to just show you the Christmas tree behind me. We're not having much luck, are we? But there is. If I duck there, the Christmas tree is behind me, and I've managed to get some little baubles and balls and that sort of thing on it. And if you take me away, the town. Okay, the Daily Mail also follows up on the same story, horror on the frozen lake, and it carries on the theme of the children having gone through. The Guardian ignores that story, and it has Tories under fire over plans for the military to act as strikebreakers. I had an altercation, if you like, with young Max on this last week. It is my view that they apparently are saying the poor old soldiers, the poor old military, might have their Christmas interrupted if they have to take over for strikebreakers, or not strikebreakers, but the strikers, and carry out the essentials like ambulances and so on and so forth. Oh dear, the soldiers and the military personnel will miss their Christmas. Well, damn it, that is one of the risks that you take if you would go into the military. And the fact that the Guardian would say, "Oh dear, 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 dear," they are, people are getting all upset that they're losing their wobbles and so on and so forth. I think that's just absolutely ridiculous. And if they are so worried about it, what I would suggest is, let's tell you all, there's going to be no television on Christmas Day, because the television workers would have to work. if you were to get television on Christmas Day. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. When I was in Northern Ireland, I pulled Christmas Day 5 years in a row. And did I dare say boo? No, I most certainly did not. It was expected of me. It was my duty. That's why I was hired, because I had to work unsociable hours. Well, there's no reason why the military can. And I think that the Guardian has gone over the top. Very silly this time. The Times: drafting in troops won't prevent NHS strike chaos, they say. Or what's their argument? 750 members of the armed forces will be drafted in to drive ambulances, and mounting concern patients will be put at risk by the strikes. The Department of Health and Social Care has made a formal request for military support with a 5-day ambulance training program, but it notes the NHS is concerned the support of the armed forces will only have a marginal impact. Well, I'm sorry, I'm not sympathetic to these strikers. I'm really not. What they want is to be able to get enough money into their pay packets to keep on with the life that we've enjoyed for the first quarter of this century. And it ain't going to happen. It's not just here, but globally, economies are heading south. Easy money is going to disappear. I can see us starting to queue to buy things like cars, and certainly things in the shops. And some things are going to disappear from the shops. Life is not going to be easy. It is not going to be the same. And the fact that everybody's going on strike because they haven't got enough money to maintain the lifestyle that they had you're not going to anyway. So go on strike, and when you've got it, what you'll do is you'll actually stoke inflation, and what you get, whatever pay award you get, you'll actually negate because of the demands. Financial Times: 2 MEPs are held as Qatari corruption scandal shakes European Parliament. While it appears that the Qataris have been shelling out money to some MEPs. Let's see if we can get any details on that. Civil servants at border force checkpoints at airports will also be replaced by the military. It says they are being trained to take over checks when staff walk out in a dispute over pay on the 23rd of December. So it doesn't give us any details about the corruption scandal with the MEPs and Qatar. You'll just have to buy the newspaper to read it. The Sun: fans plea for Gaffer Gareth to stay and lead the Young Lions to glory in Germany. Eurovision. So it's referring to the fact that England were knocked out on Saturday by France in what apparently was a really thrilling match. And only the devil who hates England footballers taking penalties struck again, and poor old the captain. What's the captain's name? Well, the captain, anyway. It'll come back to me in a minute. Missed a penalty. The Daily Star: the Three Lions mascot wins. Kit's coming home, it says. Stones and Walker rescue a cat astray. So the Star, as is usual, try hard to take a different view on things. And it says that a little kitten that was rescued or befriended by Stones and Walker, two England players, have managed to get it inoculated and so on, and it's coming back with them. And if they're not going to keep it themselves, they're going to find a good home for it. So that's a nice, heartwarming story, isn't it? Yes, I agree that England would be daft to dump Gareth Southgate. By far the best manager we've had for many, many, many years. He's a thinker. He's an intelligent man. And he looks at things in a very exact and one might say scientific way. He plans carefully, and he most certainly couldn't have he couldn't have worried about whether we were going to miss a penalty or not. That's in the lap of the gods, and it's sad that it happens. Right. Actually, I think it might be nice if you saw Lewes in all its glory. Yeah, that's Lewes as it was yesterday, with the snow falling gently to the ground. A pretty little town. Indeed, it is a pretty little town. And that is the alleyway, if you like, or the little street, the cobble street leading up to the castle. And that beautiful house is, when I first came to Lewes, I looked at it and thought that I would like to buy it. It was just a bit beyond my purse at the time, but it is lovely, and it's one of the old is to the right. There is the tradesman's entrance. So to the left you went in, and to the right the tradesmen actually. They got to use that door. Wonderful stuff, isn't it? Wonderful stuff. Right, okay. So that's that's what's happening. And the let's take a quick look at the weather. Because it certainly is going to probably continue cold, and to keep this are we going to see the weather? Never mind the weather, as long as we're together, we're off to see the Wild West show. Oh, well, the weather doesn't seem to want to come up right now, which is a pity. But I can tell you, it is not going to be warm. Now, there we go. It's going to reach 2 degrees. Starting off at -2, very little variation, so the snow is going to lie around. Today, there is still a weather warning in effect. The chances of snow throughout the day is the best chance is at around 5 o'clock this evening, or 6 o'clock this evening, where there is a 19% chance of snow. So we're probably not going to see snow today, but there are flurries floating across the country. So it could be that we are going to, we're actually going. Hang on. There we go. That we're actually going to see some. So do be careful, do wrap up. And if you go out, be careful about falling. That's why I'm not out this morning. It's because I don't want to fall. I have Parkinson's. I don't try to hide it. It affects me. And let's see if we got Sussex schools confirm Monday closures due to heavy snow. Right, many schools in Sussex have been closed because of the snow. Flights unable to take off. Unable to take off or land at Gatwick due to heavy snow. Police cordon after man suffers lacerations to head in an attack. Now, where did that happen? In Chichester. These road attacks and street fights are becoming increasingly common. I'm sorry, police. Until you start to get policemen back on the beat, out in the open, it's going to continue. I don't know why you're so thick that you try to rationalize why you're not out on the streets. It's nonsense. And Tranquil Villages, 15 minutes from Sussex, where The Holiday was filmed. Now, I should tell you that The Holiday is one of my favorite films. And I mentioned this to somebody who I like very much, but would be very much the sort of the little liberal ho-hum. Said, "Oh yes," and passed it off. But apparently, it is hugely popular, and there is going to be a remake of where those characters are 17 years on from where they where they were. I think it's Cameron Diaz. And the film star from Titanic, Jude Law, and one or two other people. And so that would be very nice. And basically, the story is that two ladies are thwarted in love, and they both decide to get out of their surroundings to heal their hearts. The American rents a cottage in England, and the English girl goes off to New York, or is it California? She goes off to California and stays in the luxury apartment of the American girl. And while she's there in California, she helps an aging screenwriter to be recognized, and in so doing, meets a young man and falls in love with him. And at this end, the brother of the lady, the English lady, stumbles into the cottage, not knowing that his sister has let it, and that starts a love affair here. And all in all, they all end up having a wonderful Christmas. So that's The Holiday, and it's going to be remade. And it terrific. It is too. It's a terrific movie. It rates, in my view, along with Love Actually, and then there are a lot of other sort of those people who believe in the artistic merits of pictures, of film. You say, Love Actually. Well, the fact of the matter is, it's a medium in which it brings stories, and they are good stories, and all this film noir and so on is fine. It's fine for those people who like to get into the real depths of films and so on and so forth. I don't. I want to be entertained and amused. I want to be made to evoke love and dissatisfaction. And I was going to say hate, but I can't hate anybody, actually. Not in my nature. The Holiday and Love Actually are two films that actually fill me with a lot of hope and pleasure, and seeing how romance blossoms, albeit in a very short period of time. It never did for me after my wife died. And actually, I put myself up for sale on Facebook, and I haven't had a nibble. Not a nibble. Oh dear. I'm not saleable. Oh dear. Right. Well, let's see what we can find to keep you amused. It is. I think it would be nice if we look at. Let's see. Daily programs should have something, I think. Shouldn't it? Well, let's see. Oh yeah. There we go. Let's take a look at this to start off with.
God rest ye merry gentlemen, let nothing you dismay. Remember Christ the Savior was born on Christmas Day to save us all from Satan's power when we had gone astray. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy. From God our Heavenly Father, a blessed angel came, and unto certain shepherds brought tidings of the same, how that in Bethlehem was born the Son of God by name. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy. Comfort and joy. Tidings of comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy.
Oh, yes, he's on the way. He is on the way. And I can't wait. I'm actually trying to get a fireplace so I can have a chimney for him to come down. But in the meantime, I hope that he'll be daring enough to scramble over my balcony and come in through the French windows. Why not? Lovely way to come and join me on Christmas morning. Is the weather is it's going to be perhaps not going to snow. Difficult to say. There is a 20% chance later on in the afternoon when it gets traditionally colder, but it's not going to change much today. It's going to go from -2 to 2. So only a 4-degree range, and that is going to keep enough for ice and fog and all sorts of things. Doing my broadcast from home this morning because I decided and opted after a lot of petitions from various people that I shouldn't get out there because with Parkinson's, I'm likely to lose my footing, go flat on my backside. But in falling on my backside, I could also hit my rib cage. And I did that about 2 weeks ago, and it still hasn't quite healed. So I'm very sensible in making sure that I don't ruin myself. Some people might say, "Go on, Keith, get out there, ruin yourself, give us some peace." But that's okay. I don't mind in the least for those people who would love to see me disappear into a snowbank. Give them a great giggle and laugh, and so it should, what else have we got that might be of interest on this this morning? Well, let's go for another little Christmas thing. Well, that seems to have ended, doesn't it? There we go. I am back after that little foray into a Christmas type thing. Now, I must say that I need to. Well, it's ghost time. It's ghost time, isn't it? And we love ghost stories. So here's a short one. And right at this very moment in time, there is a wonderful display, a Christmas display at Mickleham Priory. Mickleham Priory has quite a history, and we've related it on this program from time to time. One of the things that it was owned at one point by a family called the Sackvilles, a very prominent family in East Sussex, and one of them was a bit of a naughty man, and his ghost continues to haunt the corridors of Mickleham Priory. He does indeed. He does indeed.
Mickleham Priory is near Lewes. It was a former Augustine 13th century monastery. The main building has been preserved, but the church was pulled down by Henry VIII. The monks there had a reputation for naughtiness. Ghostly figures of monks are often seen walking the grounds. Stories of orgies and chasing the girls in the local village were legion. The priory became a private residence. One of its occupants was Sir Thomas Sackville, who lived there in the late 1500s. He was, by all accounts, a nasty bit of work. His ghost is said to bully the other spirits, as well as unsuspecting mortals. It must be true, I felt him kick me.
Well, there you are. That's the Sackville ghost. And I would, Mick Symes in Lewes Present gave the presentation out there a glowing report. And I do tend to listen to what he has to say. So do take your family out there and let's. It's well worthwhile. It's worthwhile at any time actually, because the priory is well preserved, and it is a delight to go through it. It's got a working watermill, as I recall. I haven't been out there for some time now. Not far from the village of Upper Dicker, where there is a very nice pub, and where Bede's School is. And Bede's School was at one time the mansion built by Horatio Bottomley. Who was Horatio Bottomley, you may ask? Well, Horatio Bottomley was one of the great con artists of we can say modern Britain, because he lived towards the end of the 1800s and the beginning of the 1900s. He founded the Financial Times as a newspaper, but he also founded several other organizations or magazines. And what he did was he actually put quizzes in, and people paid money to enter the quiz in the hope that they would win a substantial prize. But he always made sure that it was one of his employees who won the substantial prize, and then they gave him the money back. And he built this magnificent mansion. He actually, I think it probably closest is Cooksbridge. He built a station so that his guests could come and be entertained. He was an MP, and all in all, was a very likable and jolly fellow, except he was skimming off the top. And he was caught, and he spent some time in prison. So that is the Upper Dicker. and that is close to Mickleham Priory. So all sorts of naughtiness, both at the Priory and in the mansion in Upper Dicker itself. Lovely pub there. Haven't been there for a while either. It's mainly because I don't drive at the moment. It's a pity, really. I must get somebody to take me out to these places, because they really are very. They're really well worthwhile visiting. We've got some lovely, lovely places to visit here. And when my grandsons were rather smaller than they are now, we would go to these places: Arlington Cemetery, Arlington Lake, it's a reservoir, and that's also lovely. And there was a lovely pub called the Hollybush, I think. Was it the Hollybush or the Ivy? And just across the other side of the lake, a great place to have lunch. So all in all, it is a lovely part of East Sussex to go and visit and lose yourself in. Now, we just said Christmas Eve. Let's preview Christmas Day, shall we? Well, we have to get rid of that now, don't we? There we are, back again. We are all ready now. The only thing I would say about that little video about what we do on Christmas Day is that the long walk has gone because I can't walk anymore, or very fragile, because of my Parkinson's. And, you know, we've been thinking about what charity should we support. And very few people understand Parkinson's, how debilitating it can be. I am lucky. It's only affecting my walking. But some people get the shakes like this and can't stop it, and the other uncontrollable things. And it's little things like you have difficulty shaving, you have difficulty in doing up buttons, you have difficulty in tying your shoelaces and that sort of thing. And I've decided that why not? That will be Mirador's official charity, and I'm going to contact the Parkinson's people over the next couple of days to see whether we can organize something with them and that they're happy enough for us to do that. Anyway, now I think it's what we should do is let's go back to the ghost, shall we? Yeah, this one is the ghost train. Aha.
Many people find commuting by train tiresome. But one of the pleasures of taking a train to London is that it passes through some of the most beautiful countryside in the UK. None more so than the view of the countryside as the line approaches Clayton Tunnel, just north of Brighton. The tunnel is the longest on the line, at 1.25 miles, running under the South Downs. It's unusual because the entrance is not the usual railway brick. It is instead designed to look like the gateway to a castle. On top is a cottage built for the railway's lightkeeper in 1849. The tunnel itself was opened in 1841 and the cottage added later. Idyllic. But after 1861, it became a nightmare, or at least for those who believe in ghostly goings-on. In August of that year, a night train left Brighton, travelling north to London. Partway through the tunnel, it stopped at what it thought was a danger signal from the lightman. The engine driver was correct. The railway official had indeed given a danger signal, but the train had rushed past him before pulling up. Thinking the train had cleared the tunnel, the unfortunate lightman gave the all clear to a following train. And it slammed into the back of the first train in the dark, killing 23 and injuring 176 more. It was the worst ever accident on the line. And people walking on the downs over the underground passage have reported hearing the screams of the passengers as the trains piled into each other. The line is now also a direct line from Lewes. I've travelled through that tunnel 1,000 times. I've never heard a scream other than the screech of the wheels and brakes. But I've never walked over the downs at that point either. And I turned down an invitation to stay in the cottage overnight. In fact, I get tense each time I go into the tunnel, knowing what had happened more than 165 years ago. But my fellow passengers carry on reading their newspapers, obviously oblivious to both the tragedy and the ghosts. I could sometimes scream at them. The ghosts of Clayton Tunnel. Eerie. Bloody eerie.
Well, there we are, and let's. Back up so I can talk to you. Now, I'm not quite sure whether I'm going to find this, but I found something that said just simply my movie, and I haven't a clue what it's all about. So it might be rather interesting to see. So cross your fingers. I may have to take it off very quickly if it's not what I think it is. But here is a go. Let's take a look.
So, Keith,
Just a moment. Listen, I'm with two con artists here. I've just watched them dance. Just watch this clip for 15 seconds, and they think I'm going to do that. Oh, you con ladies, you con ladies. I'll try and do a shimmy, but that's about the most that I can do. Okay, girls, bring it on.
let's shimmy. Shimmy now. We're going to move it. We're going to shimmy. We're going to get you nice and loosened up. This is Latin, so we want a real Latin fever. We're going to put some samba music on, and we're just going to get shimmying away. You up for it?
Oh.
Are you ready?
Yes, do I need that for
Okay.
this?
You can hold on to it.
Right.
If you feel more
But
secure with it.
if you want, because you could free up your arms completely.
That's jazz hands. That's jazz hands. We don't want jazz
Oh,
hands
no, jazz
in
hands.
samba.
Right, what do we do
But
with
they were
that?
very good for jazz hands.
Let's have a look again.
So-
What's a shimmy?
So a shimmy is the movement of the shoulders,
right.
but no duck wiggling as you're doing it.
Oh,
so you've
right.
got to do what's known as isolation, where your top half of the body is moving, but your lower part of the body isn't moving, or vice versa. So for this, we're just going to be slightly apart with our feet,
Right.
okay?
Yeah.
And we're not going to move anything from below our rib cage, okay?
Right.
So we're going to be using our shoulders. And all you're going to do is your right shoulder, you're going to go forward and then bring it back. So forward and back, forward and back. Now change to the left shoulder. We're going to go forward and back, forward and back. Good. So now you've got to do them either way, opposite times. So you're going to go right, left, right, left. So as the right one goes forward, the left one goes back. Good. So right, left, right, left. And that's the basic elements of a shimmy.
That's a shimmy.
Yeah,
Not
but
quite.
you've just got to get it up to speed, Keith.
Oh, right, okay. Let's have a
So
look at
let's
speed.
go slowly.
All right.
So we're just going to get our arms nice and loose. Nice and loose. Give yourself a little wiggle. Give yourself a little wiggle. We're nice and loose. So you're just going to go like that. Bit faster.
Swing each one forward, slightly smaller with the
Yeah,
shoulders.
so don't, so
Smaller
we're not
movements.
moving our whole body.
That's back to your status quo.
Yeah, you've gone back to your status quo there. So
Well, am I moving my body?
I don't know what he said then.
You said, am I moving my body? No,
Yes,
keeping
you
your-
are.
Oh.
You're doing this, so you're turning.
right, I'm gonna
like
do
this.
that.
So you just think shoulder, shoulder,
That's
shoulder,
it.
shoulder.
That's it.
small movement,
That's
really
it.
small, and just opposite. And you're just going to do this. So if I can just show you.
Can I hold my hands like
Yeah,
yours?
like
It looks
that.
so elegant.
That's it. That's better.
That's it.
I love the facial expressions. I can't talk though because when I'm dancing I've got horrible facial expressions for the love of it. So we've got to get that just coming in a little bit faster. So you're just moving the chest. That's it. So isolate the waist. Think of your spine. You're pulling up from your spine and
Right.
you're circulating on your spine.
Right.
That's it. That's it. We've gone a little bit Incredible Hulk. So maybe not quite the Hulk.
If I only
Loosen
had
up.
the muscles.
Looseness. Look at those. Look at those guns. So just nice and loose, and you're just gonna
Right.
give it a little shimmy. I think we should just put some music on and do it.
Okay.
Let's have a little bit of samba, Joe. That's all it is. It's just loose. Feel the music. Feel the rhythm. Samba beats pulsing through your body. That's it. Nice and slow. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. A little bit faster. 1, 2. Oh, let it off. Bit faster. There you go. You've got a bit rigor mortis.
We're just doing
Get rid of the
arms,
ringer.
yeah? What happened to the shoulders?
That's it. Nice and
That's
loose
it.
in the arms. That's it. Clap face. Face of a champion, that. Very good. That's it. Loosen up. Loosen up. There's the
She won't
smile.
come out to say
There's
I'm
the
nowhere near
smile.
as good as them. Oh, it's beautiful.
Try and keep the bottom still.
That's it.
Right.
Try and put your arms down here a bit. So
Relax.
let them swing.
Relax.
Don't move the arm. Don't move the arm.
Don't move the arms.
The arm will move if your shoulder will lift.
Right.
So don't think about the arms, think about the shoulders.
You bring your feet into it.
Oh, I'm not supposed to move the bottom arm.
Just literally tap each bit.
That is really sweet.
It's not a bad shimmy, is it? It's not a bad shimmy. Well done, Keith. Another success ticked off.
So that's what that was all about. Now I know. Let's remind ourselves of what's on the front pages this morning. The Metro 999 race to save Ice Lake horror victims. Some children fell through the ice on a lake near Birmingham. Two of them went initially. Three tried to help them, and they are not absolutely sure that they've got all five of them out. The Mirror is the same thing. Big freeze nightmare. Children in Ice Lake terror. The Daily Express follows on with that. Lake horror. The Daily Telegraph. Children in frozen lake plunge. And then we get down to the Mail is horror on the frozen lake. The Guardian ignores it. Tories under fire over plans for military to act as strike breakers. My heart bleeds. And the Times, drafting in troops won't prevent NHS strike chaos. The Financial Times is two MEPs are held as Qatari corruption scandal shakes European Parliament. And the Sun, fans plea for Gaffer Gareth to stay and lead Young Lions to glory in Germany. Eurovision, it says. Eurovision. The Daily Star, it has at the top Kids in Ice Lake horror, but its main story is Kits coming home, and that is that two English footballers rescued a stray kitten in Qatar, and the thing is going to the animal is going to be brought back, and it can be found a home here. So yeah, that's a nice story. One story that I don't see there is that there is now a new party with Priti Patel heading it up, or a new group within the Conservative Party that are not at all happy with the pleasant leadership of the Conservative Party. And they've got a donor who has chunked in several millions to get them going, and so that they can actually, as they say, hand a responsibility back to the people, or those people who are Conservatives in local associations. So we'll see how that goes. But yet another, the Conservative Party is so disaffected with itself, it's difficult to see that it can actually get its act together. But who knows? Who knows? Now, I think that what we might do is we have been showing bit by bit our documentary series about Lewis, The Bloody Past of a Tiny Town. And just as a kickoff to this week, particularly since I'm broadcasting from home, why don't we go back to episode 1 to put you all in the picture so that you can follow the rest of the episodes as we go up to Christmas. So here is the first episode of The Bloody Past of a Tiny Town. Whoop-de-doo. I'm Keith Hayes, and you'll be sick and tired of my face by the time this series ends, but I hope you'll bear with me as I shuffle through the streets of this lovely town, pop in and out of its pubs, and tell you a story of its bloody past. Saxon times, it was known as Lewes. The modern term for toilet might have come from it, I suppose. But the town became respectable and is now known as Lewes. Lewis, not Lewes. But its original name does come from Saxon times. And this pretty little town in East Sussex, nicely tucked under the shelter of the South Downs, has had this high street for longer than written records go back. Pretty normal sort of UK high street, really. Typical shops and stores each side of it. Looks just like High Street UK. High Street UK, from John O'Groats to Land's End, have all got a history. But this little stretch of road has a violent and bloody history. And that history reflects much of the history of the country itself. A pint pulled from a tap is the tipple of most Englishmen, I suspect. They sure tippled in Lewes in the past. This pub goes back to 1742. There's a list of the landlords to prove it. Today, sitting on the high street, it's one of the 16 pubs in a town of 16,000. 150 years ago, there were 63 pubs in Lewes and 18 breweries. And in those days, there were only 9,000 people. Wow, what a tall tale. Yes, but true. And over the next few programmes, I'm going to take a closer look at some of the bloodier and more sensational events that have occurred on this seemingly normal high street. But right now, I'm just going to paint a general picture of this tiny English town, before I get to the bloody and the exotic. The high street is dominated by a Norman castle. One of the oldest Norman castles in the country. It was built not long after the invasion of 1066. It housed the Norman garrison, who ensured the people living inside its walls were kept safe. Indeed, Lewes was a walled town. And there is brick-by-brick evidence of the 4 gates that gave entry to the town.
By the way, Lewes isn't a corruption of Lou. It's the Saxon word for a hill. And if you thought that Lewes had lots of pubs, it has far more hilly roads. Far more even than the rest of the country, I think.
The modern-day Lewes is well used by its people. Lots of shops, markets, and even tea rooms. It also has a lot of parades. At the end of the school year, a ceremony takes place called patina. All year long, pupils design and build exotic costumes ready to parade down the high street.
Raphael, I walked onto the high street in Lewes a couple of years ago to be greeted with a lot of children running around in funny costumes. What on earth is that all about?
It's called Moving on Parade, and it's something we started 16 years ago. Started from a wish of parents to bring more art into schools because they see how much schools struggle demands of the government, and they wanted to support the school in that. So we started something called Patina, which is Parents and Teachers in the Arts.
Right.
Moving on Parade celebrates the transition from primary to secondary education of all the children in Lewes District Council.
Very colourful costumes. How do you decide what the costumes are? You're the artistic director, so you better give me a good answer on this.
So every year we have a theme, and the theme this year is Wonders of Our World. Last year we asked the community to suggest different artists that they would like to see on the parade, and loads of suggestions came in, and we shortlisted the huge list into 16 schools, which was the amount of schools that took part last year. We had Frida Kahlo, and we had Picasso, and we had Van Gogh, and we have Giacometti, and we had Andy Warhol. So they doing illustrations and designs, and then the patina artists take all the children's idea and adapt it into a practical design that the children are actually able to make in a couple of days. We invite about 8 or 10 people from every school to come and learn the skills of the carnival costume, and they start to make the big make that the school is going to carry. And after that, the patina artists going into the school and work with the children on their individual costumes. We're trying to really do it as a enjoyment, getting people together. They're all going to meet in the secondary school later on. We're trying that they'll meet each other beforehand as well. So we're doing events all year round for the benefit of the whole community, not just for the year sixes.
You do other things. You said you go to the schools. What do you do in the schools?
So our next event is on the 22nd of April. It's called Dance Your Socks Off. And because the theme this year is Wonders of Our World, we thought it'll be really fun to have an evening of teaching flamenco, bhangra, and the sirtaki with world food. We're going to have sushi, we're going to have international cocktails, we're going to have professional dance scholars who are going to teach the dance, and it's going to be a really fun event, and that's for children as well.
See, cocktails. I told you Lewis is a drinking town.
Yeah, we're pretty good at cocktails. Growing every year, so we making contact with our twin towns. We're making contact with Lewis in America. There's a group of them, artists from Lewis in America, coming to Lewis in June. We made contact with them, and what we would really like is to use this format in other places, because Lewis is the only place that we know of who celebrates their moving on from primary to secondary schools, and it's people that hear about it, they are impressed, and it will be really nice for other people, other children in other communities to do the same.
Yeah, I didn't realise it was unique to Lewis and a very unusual operation. Well, how do the children react to it? I mean, generally speaking, do you get great support from the kids?
Yes, we do, and because it's been going for so many years, it becomes a part of the cultural calendar of the town. So young children know that when they get to year 6, they'll do the moving on parade, and all the siblings did it, and they've seen the rest of the older ones doing it. So it's kind of something that they look forward to.
I'm known for wearing strange costumes. As you can see, my hats are still there in this episode, so I don't think I should be marching, but I most certainly will come to the cocktails.
Great.
Raffaella, thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thank you.
The adults have their turn, and on November the 5th, the biggest Guy Fawkes celebration anywhere in the world takes place. Exotic costumes, burning crosses, effigies stuffed with fireworks. Rousers, that is a banger to you and I, are tossed casually into the street. And almost every citizen of the town, old and young, takes part. There's a bit more to the bonfire celebration, though, than just the gunpowder plot. In 1553, Queen Mary was determined to bring Roman Catholicism back to England. Right here on the High Street, she burned 17 people at the stake who wouldn't convert. The dungeon, where they were held before being so horribly slaughtered, is still here, up these steps, being the last walk the condemned men would take. It was a horrible death. They were put into tar barrels, which were then set alight. Pretty bloody stuff. But we'll leave the high street for a few minutes. Then we'll bring you more gore, blood and guts.
I think the government stinks. And I think the last government stank. And what's more, I think the government even before that stank. Whether I believe that or not is quite irrelevant. What is important is whether I can say it without being locked up by the King's men. It wasn't always so.
The rights enjoyed in a free democracy started right here. It was here, near to the high street, that blood was shed in the name of freedom. It was match of the day, the king versus the barons. King Henry III was roundly defeated at the Battle of Lewes, just on the edge of the town. Despite holding the castle, the king's men were put to the sword, and many were massacred in both the huge priory, which stood near the town, and right here in our bloody high street. Panicking soldiers were easy pickings for the pursuing forces of Simon de Montfort. The Battle of Lewes is said to be the first step towards democracy in this country. That was in 1243.
When you say the Battle of Lewes, to most people around this country now, they glance at you with vacant eyes. They don't know what it's about. What was it about?
Well, you're right. Most people here don't know about it. What happened was Simon de Montfort and his barons were arguing with the king and his men about representation in Parliament, whereas the king, the king just had all of his men and a lot of his French relatives in Parliament, and he was taxing the barons very heavily, and all of this money was going to the French relatives or going abroad, and the barons were not very happy about this. So they wanted at least half of the 24 men in Parliament to be elected barons. So, I mean, though it's not very democratic in the sense that we have it today, it's the start of that representation of a view that is not just the king's view on how things should be run. Simon de Montfort got to hear that the king was down at the Priory of St. Pancras. And why he was there was for the Feast of St. Pancras in the middle of May. And of course it was a big feast and people would come from all over the world, actually, or all over Europe to the feast. So he needed somewhere as big as the Priory to be able to feed all these people and entertain them for a few days. And that's why he was here. Simon de Montfort was up country in north in Sussex in some of his estates with his men, and he heard that the king was down here and he sent messengers. He sent bishops of Winchester and London down with money, with £30,000, which is a fortune in those days, to try and negotiate a settlement with the king. The king was a little bit reticent to go into war with Simon de Montfort because, yes, they were brother-in-laws and he was an old man. They were in their late 50s at the time. Not that that's old now, but it was then. But the king's brother, Richard of Alamein, also called King of the Romans, etc., he wanted war. And, of course, Prince Edward, hothead, he definitely wanted war. So they settled, you know, the ransom money was sent back and the envoys, the bishops were sent back, and so it was war the next day. They negotiated the Mise of Lewes, most of which was, you know, yes, we took this castle, well, we give you it back, and you give us this, and we'll ransom this man and that man for this man and that kind of thing. But it also set down where the king would say, you know, 24 of the 24, we're going to have 12 elected barons, so that we're going to have the beginning of a parliamentary election. And Simon de Montfort made the king hand over his seals, which meant that the king had no power. So Simon de Montfort became the de facto king. It changed the king's complete and outright power. And Prince Edward then went on to, as king, ratify the clauses of the Magna Carta and the provisions of Oxford. And those began to change the king's power. And it also meant things like, if a woman died as a widow, her dowry money was hers. It didn't need to be given over to her husband's family and sons and what have you.
There's a start of women's rights as well.
There you go.
My goodness me.
There you go. The Normans did it for us.
The man who gave the name to the House of Commons and according to at least one historian, named America the United States, preached his heretical views in the town's pubs. Here we go again, pubs in Lewes. You can't get away from them.
There's a tale handed down from Crown landlord to Crown landlord that Tom Paine was barred from drinking in that bar because he harassed and harangued the regulars to the point where they wouldn't drink anymore. They were fed up with Tom preaching the rights of man. So he walked across the street to the coaching inn, the White Hart,
where a more lenient landlord turned a blind eye, or, a more likely, a deaf ear to the ravings of this revolutionary.
It seemed that he used to like to spend his social hours here and his active political discussion times here in volatile discussion with a group which I believe we thought was called the Headstrong Club, because it still meets today and they call it the Headstrong Club today. But I gather from a local historian that it was called the White Hart Dining Club. Oh. And Thomas Paine, up in our sheriff's room, the oak-panelled function room, basically plotted the American Revolution and for a struggle for independence, which resulted in the final Declaration of Independence, an authenticated copy of which we have in the sheriff's room, and he was credited with originating that. And in turn, he dubbed the White Hart Hotel as the cradle of American independence.
He had some remarkable phrases, didn't he? I mean, according to Bill Bryson, he coined the first time the phrase the House of Commons, and also Bryson says that he coined the phrase the United States. So now the White Hart goes down in history as the cradle of independence. It's wonderful. But whoever the landlord was at the time embraced him and said, "Come on in, we love to hear you talk."
It certainly wasn't me. No, you're right. And yes, I think probably as any hotelier, always keen for a little bit of business, and it developed into quite an active dining club, I gather, because they had their volatile political discussions over dinner.
No record of you throwing him out of the hotel?
No, but I have to say that during the times that they have met here recently, we've had some very interesting volatile speakers, lots of celebrities, actors, and I remember Tony Benn's voice drilling through the sheriff's room door. It said, I will not say too much, but it said that a lot of decisions are made here after the council chambers has closed. So that's interesting. Yeah, I think Lewes has embraced Thomas Paine very well. I'm very proud of him because he lived just up the road in the Bull Inn, and of course it was a very easy little trot, and even after he had imbibed, he wouldn't have far to go.
So our Tom, getting nowhere at home, he worked briefly as a customs officer in this house here, married the boss's daughter in the church here, within the town's walls, then took off to America.
In Lewes, he was ranting. In the colonies, he was making sense.
He preached revolution, and revolution was what he got. The American colonies broke away to form a new country, the United States. There are many more buildings that either face or back onto the high street. Lewes Prison is a few hundred yards up the road. It has held many famous people, including pop star Mick Jagger. Jagger famously talked his way to a prison phone, called the White Hart Hotel, and ordered a takeaway, which was duly delivered. Tucked away behind these buildings was a naval prison. 250 Russian prisoners captured in a naval battle in the Crimea War were incarcerated here in 1854. Life was harsh for the ratings, but the officers roamed the town at will, socializing with the locals and dining at the tables of the high and the mighty in Lewes. 17 of the ratings died while in prison. and a monument to them stands in the graveyard of a local church. This impressive structure was built by Tsar Alexander II, and its upkeep is still paid for by the Russian Embassy in London. There are many other events that make the High Street interesting. The days of great circuses parading their animals. The Prince Regent winning a bet driving a coach and four down the cobbled street. It's a wonder he didn't break his neck. So today I've taken a snapshot look at Lewes High Street. High Street UK. Every high street has a history. And there are thousands of high streets across the country. And this is just one of them. More high street tales tomorrow. Meanwhile, where's that pint?
Well, there you are. That's a bit about Lewes for those of you who don't know. I'm sure that many of you are aware of many of the things that I've just talked about there. But then we've got a new influx. Lewes is a living entity. People come and people go. And to be reminded of the heritage for those people who are coming in is, I hope that it's helpful. For those people who have been here for all their lives, perhaps there are one or two things that we've reminded you about. Anyway, I hope that you did find that half decent, and one of those things that, well, yeah, what the hell, a great worker for charities, Susan Harris, who is in hospital with breast cancer and is seriously ill. But she spent half her life collecting for charity, boosting charities, working hard for charities. And she would always get up very early in the morning, and she would take a little whip around Lewes with her camera. And just so that we never forget Susan, here's one of her early mornings. I think it's one of her early mornings around the town. So there we are, Susan Harris, and we wish her well. And I would say hope for a speedy recovery, but I think that she's beyond that. So let's wish her a comfortable time during this period of illness and distress. We're all with you, Susan. Now we need to let's just oh dear let's have a little Christmas interlude. Oh, yeah. Hope that. Oh dear. No, I know what I'm doing now. I'm doing it all wrong again. What we have to do is to remove that, and that brings us back to me. And let's. Colours, and there it should be. It should there I am back again. It is now 10:20. It is the which day is it? It's the 12th day of December, leading up to Christmas. And I hope that we're all going to have a very Merry Christmas. It has been a rotten and rough year, a really rotten and rough year. But we have lasted through it. We're still here, and hopefully we can gird our loins and enter into 2023 with starting from ground zero. The only thing is that our trades unions have got to come to realization, and their members have, is it ain't all going to be as easy as it was before. It's going to be tough. You have to fight our way out of it. And what you're going to have to do is to very quickly remember that we want a sense of duty. We all have got to start to think about the country and not ourselves. I know that's difficult because we are in we're in an era, if you like, where me is terribly important. I was I mean, don't think that I'm not sympathetic to people who are having a rough time during the current recession, and we are in recession. That was confirmed this morning. Don't think that I'm not sympathetic. Of course I am. But I do think that we've got to get our minds around the fact that things aren't going to be as good as they were. And there was one little snippet where there's my phone, which I'm not going to answer because anybody who knows me knows that I'm on the air at this time of day. And those that don't can leave a message. I saw a little clip, and it said that people who were helping a lady who had got an empty house, that the son ran away because he was sleeping on the floor, and the people came to their aid and got a few basics. But I was amused that they also got a video game set at a few £100. Now, I understand that the young man needs to be kept entertained and interested. Yes, indeed. But it is amazing as how our minds work. Is they have no food, they have no bed, but when they come to get a video game, they can spare £200 or £300 to get this as part of the essentials, as it were. Those times have gone. Those times when people can turn up and go to a food bank and trainers that cost £200 or £300, they've gone. They no longer are around. We have going to have to adjust to that because our community, our society is in such bad financial shape. Not just us, a lot of other countries are too, and we forget that. But it is in bad financial shape. And what we've got to do is we've got to generate cash before we can spend it. And it's all very well to march and demand an extra 10% or 20% or 30% or whatever onto the salaries, but somebody is going to make that money somewhere. And if we can't make it, we can't have it. And striking is not going to make any difference. If it isn't there, you can't have it. The only other thing that we'd be pushing is for government to borrow even more money. And if it does that, then we are really in trouble. Personal debt, I know because I'm climbing out of personal debt. I had a bad time during lockdown. I went from being what one might call reasonably well off to having no money at all and ending up owing money in trying to keep this business alive. I'm slowly getting back. Whether, in fact, the present situation is going to affect me badly, I don't know. I just have to keep my nose to the grindstone and I hope maintain my sense of duty. And that's what most people are going to have to do. And striking and marching and demanding money that isn't there and sending the country into the red to where it will take years and years and years and years for it to get out is no answer to anything. So some rethinking has got to be done. I don't know what that rethinking is. I don't want people to work for wages and conditions that are poor, but often the demands of unions are quite outrageous and really have very little to do with their workers. They are a political statement. So let's just put those things aside for a year or two until we are back to where we have got easier credit, to where we can afford trainers at 200 quid, that we can afford to put electronic game players into every home. We can't do it yet. We can't do it yet. We are going to have to ask for political reform, corporate reform, and civil society reform, because it is not good enough to say it's somebody else's fault. We are masters of our own destiny. And that's the way that we really have to look at things. We really do. We've got to start to rethink the way we live and forge a new future. And actually, if we do bite the bullet now, it can be a future for everybody, a future that we would want for our people, for our children, for our elderly, for our lame and our sick. Instead of this free-for-all that is taking place in Parliament, it's taking place in the quangos like the NHS, it's taking place in local councils, and it's taking place on the streets. It's taking place because you and I have got used to having such a good life. And we can't come to grips with the fact that it ain't there anymore. But it ain't. Sorry for using the quaint expression. It ain't. And we have got to realize that and come to grips with it and start to show some sense of duty, some sense that we want to actually contribute to our society, that we want to make it a good society, a healthy society, and not the silly nonsense that the wokes keep propagating, and to which is actually the establishment pay so much attention, and it's absolutely incredible. It's just quite silly. Quite silly. No, it is time for us to realize that we've got a wonderful winter scene out there, a calming scene, a scene that makes us feel good. Okay, it doesn't last for very long. Like the snowman, it melts. But in that time, it is pretty, and it lifts the spirits, and it makes us feel good. And while we're feeling good, surely what we should do is while we're feeling good, we should actually start to think and to mull over exactly what it is that we're doing, exactly what we're asking for, exactly what is possible. There's no sense in us bemoaning the fact that we've got people who are using food banks, bemoaning the fact that there are people who can't put on the heating, bemoaning the fact that the hospitals are full, bemoaning the fact that the doctors aren't seeing us. It's up to us to put it right. It's up to us to support those sort of reforms, not the silly nonsense that we see, the banner waving. What are they? They're not with it. They're not understanding what the basics of life are all about. Yes, we can actually go on all sorts of marches and banner wavings once we once we are back to a healthy society. But we aren't healthy at the moment. Not a bit of it. We are not. And we really got to get a little bit closer. A little bit closer to where we were. I'm not sure whether this is what I think it is. It doesn't matter anyway, it's not playing. No, we're having a little bit of problems at the moment. Is just finding stuff that that is good for us to remember, good for us to. This is one little thing that is Santa doesn't have it all his own way.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas! Well, guess who's on my nice list this year? That's right, it's Austin and Calvin and Jason. That's Jackson, isn't it? Oops. Well, guess who's on my nice list this year? Well, then I just wanted to let you. This is terrible. And stay on the nice list when I come through. So good, and I had it. Is that right? We'll be stopping at your house. So we'll. Man, I had it too. We'll see you soon. Have a Merry Christmas. Ho ho ho.
Well done, the energy companies. They're full of bright ideas to help their customers. Now they've made power so expensive that for an average house such as this, you can't afford to heat it. So you don't need appliances such as this. But that means you also don't need a fridge, because you can keep your groceries cool and fresh without it. The house is cold enough. Well done, chaps. Well, let's go off to New York now, because here she is, the bundle of fun that always is there, Suzanne Musho. Good morning, Suzanne.
Good morning. How are you?
Well, we're lurching in the fact that we got snow over the weekend.
I know. I saw. What's it like?
and Melissa was on, because, of course, she's over here. She was on this morning and saying you had 24 inches or something of the sort in New York, and we had 1 inch, and we're totally powerless.
I know. It takes some getting used to snow.
Yes. Well, it does for both of us, I suppose, but for us, I think this is the first time it's snowed in Lewis in about 3 years. So we're totally incapable of looking after ourselves. So how are you handling the snow in New York?
Well, we don't have it in the city. Melissa probably had it where she had it, where she lives, which is outside of the city. But Connecticut has, I think, I don't know if they had 24 inches. The coolest storm, though, was the storm in Buffalo a few weeks ago, where they had 5-6 feet of snow. Like, that was wild.
Yeah. How many days did it snow to get that heavy?
I'm sorry?
How many days did it snow to get?
No, just like, a few hours. It just got dumped. Yeah, it was crazy. They had to close the city down, and even though they're used to that kind of snow, but not all not in over a 12-hour period, but.
Oh, incredible.
Yeah.
Right. Now,
you look really kind of happy and cool.
Well, is actually Lewes is a it's not a twee town, but the architecture has been protected so that we have architecture in the town from pre-Norman. There are things called Twittons, which are tiny little narrow lanes, and they are actually Saxon. So they go back to about 700 or 800 AD, and they funnel traffic into the high street, and they've been preserved. There are about a dozen or so Twittons left, and they're a delight to walk along because you get that feeling of Saxon Lewes, and we go right up to the county building, which is a 20th century monstrosity.
Nice.
Now, what have the family been up to?
Well, my son played in his basketball game on Friday night and got 27 points in one game. He got 13 in the first quarter. So that was a big deal. We're all very proud of him. My oldest daughter comes home from college this week, so I have to go and pick her up. So,
and where's she in college again?
She goes to Marist, which is in a town called Poughkeepsie. It's about 2 hours from here. So,
and now pronounce that again, because I always say Poughkeepsie.
Yeah, it's Poughkeepsie. But it's spelled Poughkeepsie. So
yeah, I've always loved that name. Where does the name come from?
Oh, I'm sure it's a Native American name for sure. I can look it up. I haven't researched it.
Yeah, I mean, I think around the New York area there are some delightful names, most of which I suppose go back to the Native American.
Yeah, they absolutely do. I remember when my sister also went to Buffalo for school. So when she came to the orientation, after the orientation, she said, "Suzanne, I've met some of the most interesting people. I met somebody from a place called Cheektowaga." And I said, "You mean Cheektowaga?" And it's like literally like 5 minutes away. It's like so funny.
Is there ice on the river?
No, not really, not yet. It hasn't been that cold here. It's this week. It's getting cold.
Right.
And then we don't. The river only gets like ice along the shoreline. It doesn't get ice all the way in the middle of the river.
Yes. One of the impressive things I found is I went to Sweden and to Stockholm. Is Stockholm? Yes. And at a time of year when the river was frozen, and it really is. It's quite something to see a river frozen from bank to bank, and the boats that were there that got caught and so on.
One of my really good friends is currently in Antarctica. She went on a trip, and she just sent me some photos. I mean, I have no idea why anyone would want to go there. I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, there's not obviously there's no people anywhere, but it's literally blue water and white ice, that's it.
Yes.
It's
has she gone working there?
No, it was a trip with a couple of friends. Her friends wanted to go, and so she flew to Argentina, and then she went from Argentina to Antarctica. I mean, it sounds like a crazy trip.
Yeah, but I mean, was there anybody guiding her, or?
Yeah. No, she's with a bunch of people. So yeah.
I mean, I think it would be very daunting to sort of see this stretch of ice and think there's nobody here but me.
Exactly. I know. It's like, okay, I'm a little if something doesn't go well today, what's going to happen to me? But yeah, no, it looks spectacular.
I'm not sure whether it was the Arctic or Antarctica that the ship, the American, wasn't it an American ship that got trapped in the ice? And they Shackleton, was it?
Yes.
Yeah. And they had to hack their way out, and
she's planning on going kayaking too, which I was like, all right.
Yes, we will very much like to hear her experiences when she gets back.
Yeah, I will definitely share more. But
so what are your family going to do over Christmas?
So it looks like we're going to be doing two things. We're going to do something with my husband's family. We just decided that we're going to have a full day, Christmas celebration and and competition day. So we're already getting like the running races set up. We're gonna have a pizza making contest. So we're gonna do that on Christmas Eve, and then Christmas Day we're going probably out to my brother's house. Although they may come here too. You never know.
But you have a big family Christmas.
Yeah, we'll have a big family Christmas. My family is, I think, about when we're all together, we're like about 18 people. So
Wow. Yeah, that's going to be fun.
yeah, definitely. What about you? What do you have planned?
Well, as I shall be on my own for the morning, and several colleagues have said, and including my daughter, have said they're going to Zoom me. So I think I'll have a busy morning. And then at lunchtime, I'm going to join a family that I've spent Christmas with for about the last 4 or 5. A lovely family with the man in charge, as it were, named Alex Kirby, who was a very senior man in the BBC for many years, an excellent broadcaster, but also a priest. And
All right.
He maintained that all throughout his working life. We, his 2 sons, their girlfriend, his wife, and normally they are very kind people, and they mop up another couple of waifs and strays. So the chances are there'll be about 8 or 10 people there, and we do the very traditional thing. We have little drinks before lunch, a wonderful turkey lunch. Come back and watch what was the Queen's speech, but now will be the King's speech, and fall asleep.
During the speech?
Well, sometimes.
Wow, that sounds like a great day.
Yes, but a pizza making competition, no.
Yeah, well, you might need to add it. Let me first tell you how it goes, and then you can consider adding it next year.
Absolutely, yes. One of the things that when my wife was alive, it was a bit different because we would always go to midnight mass, which is a wonderful service. And I would accept transport ends. I live just on the edge of Lewes, and transport ends at sort of 8 o'clock or so on Christmas Eve. So getting there is a problem. But it was always a lovely service. And then we would have people back for oysters and champagne.
Nice.
And on one really famous Christmas, we had 80 people in our tiny little cottage, all drinking champagne and eating oysters. And a few turkeys were ruined at home, I understand. So I miss those days, but life is as it is, isn't it? And you make up for it, and you embrace it, and you have fun with what you've got.
Absolutely. Although oysters and champagne sound pretty good at 2 o'clock. Was it like 2 o'clock in the morning when you got back to your house?
No, we actually would go again on Christmas Day.
Okay.
And we after church on Christmas Day. So people would come back at about 12 o'clock.
Okay.
And then disperse to their own homes about 3, and we would have our own Christmas dinner, which often is my daughter would be there for, and her family, and so on. So we always had 8 or 12 people around the table for our own. How my wife ever coped with looking after 80 people with oysters and champagne and then cooking a turkey, God only knows. I mean, I could barely look after 6 just with the oysters and champagne.
I know, I'm telling you, my mom was an amazing person in the kitchen. Our kitchen was about half the size of the kitchen I have now. And my mother would produce these meals for 30 people somehow. And you would never even know. And everything was perfect. I'm like, I marvel at that now. It's like, where did she even have the space to put the pots and pans? It's like amazing.
Now, one thing I hope that on the evening of the 22nd is that we'll be able to get hold of you because we're going to have our carol party, I call it. We're having a choir in the front lounge of the White Hart Hotel.
Wow!
As you know, it's a 15th century hotel. Big blazing fire,
Nice.
glass of wine, mince pies, and some nibbles, and we hope to broadcast it live. So I hope that we can bring you in,
Oh, I'd
on
love
that evening.
that.
Put it in your diary.
I will put
Yeah,
it in my
and
diary.
it's between 7 o'clock in the evening, our time, until 10 o'clock. I'm not quite sure what that will be with you, but hopefully
All
we
right.
can get
Well,
in
that
touch with
sounds
you.
like it's possibly doable. So that's great.
Right. You won't
Yeah.
have to get up early in the morning the way you do at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. Well, on Wednesday, my son's having his Christmas concert at his school, and I get to meet his girlfriend finally. He has a new girlfriend.
Has he been hiding her?
No, my husband's met her. I just haven't met her. She was at the game on Friday night, but I only got to some of the games. So anyway, he's not hiding her. However, he was reluctant to introduce her until he started to say, I actually like her. So she sounds like she's very nice.
Oh,
So,
that's good. That's good. Well, we'll expect a report.
absolutely. I will give you a report, although I'm sure he'll want me to not talk
Yeah.
about it at all.
You're a bit like Downton Abbey, here is the lives of the Musho family are becoming. Everybody wants to know on a weekly basis what the hell have you been up to.
Well, we went to a party on Saturday night, and it was quite a party. One of my friends from kindergarten, who I'm still best friends with, she had her Christmas party on Saturday night. There must have been 100 people in this apartment. Maybe I knew 10 of them or something. But it was quite a splash.
Yeah, that's great. That's terrific. Now, what does the new year hold for Suzanne Musho?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it holds lots of really great things, and I don't know. I know that I'm definitely traveling a few places.
Right, that's great.
Yeah.
I mean, this past year we had 12 months of it and 12 crises. I mean, every month seemed to throw up a new crisis, from lockdown all the way up to today is people falling through the ice and drowning. I wonder if the new year will be any different, and whether we can actually look at things with some optimism.
Well, I'm hoping for an amazing odd year. I feel like the even years have been a little trying for us. So hopefully we'll have a good odd 2023. So,
Yeah.
but right now I'm planning to go to a conference in Abu Dhabi, a women's conference in Abu Dhabi in March. So hopefully that'll be interesting.
Yes. Now, what's that all about?
So Forbes is having this conference. It's like a 50 over 50. So they celebrate women who are over the age of 50 who have been doing amazing things. And the leader of it is a woman named Mika Brzezinski, who is a journalist in the United States. You may know her dad, who was a famous foreign policy expert. So she's invited me to come out and meet people and to hopefully do an exhibition in 2024 at the same conference. So,
right. And will you be speaking at this conference?
No, but I will be meeting people. So that's
Yeah.
the idea, is to try to get some interest in doing an exhibit on nature and climate change for the following year. So,
All right. Now, why Abu Dhabi?
I don't know why it's there. I don't know. That would be a question for her. I'll ask her. I actually am seeing her this week. I don't know why it's in Abu Dhabi. It was there last year too.
I mean, Abu Dhabi, those Gulf states are quite some places to go. There's lots of sand and lots of bare roads, and then you come across a clump of hotels which are cities in themselves.
I know. I was in Dubai in 2019, only for a few days, but I still think about how crazy it is that a place even exists.
Absolutely. I was absolutely astonished at the hotel we stayed in, Dubai. You didn't have to go out. There were sort of 20 restaurants, different restaurants.
Yeah.
There was a nightclub. There was just about everything, and all in the one hotel.
Yeah. I remember I arrived, because you arrive kind of late at night. So I arrived at 10 o'clock or something, got to the hotel. And then, of course, I'm not tired. So I went outside, and this hotel was on sort of like an outdoor mall kind of thing. And it was probably midnight by the time that I got outside, and it was packed with people, which is when everyone goes out because it's not so hot anymore, I was there in December, so it never really got terribly hot, but it was pretty wild. I mean, what a
Yeah.
place, right?
Oh, they're very interesting, the Gulf states. Actually, I 2 weeks ago, I spent 2 days. I say training, and it's not really. I enter into discussions with a chap who is head of the mergers and acquisitions and compliance departments for the Saudi government, Saudi Arabian government. And a very, very interesting young man he was, and very articulate, and knew more or less what it was that he was trying to achieve. Wasn't absolutely sure how to achieve it. So we had 2 days of very interesting discussions, and I actually had a little note from him this morning saying, hi, how are you? I hope you're okay. So those states, although I think we've got a lot of misconception of what they're all about, and and I'm sorry to say it, but the media whip up these things, as we tend to do, is they are struggling very hard to come into what we might say is the 21st century.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you. I mean, I still think there's a lot of, I mean, Saudi Arabia in particular is even a little bit more different from the UAE, I feel. But when I was there, I mean, you could tell that there was this kind of an energy level of trying to, create a place that people wanted to be, and be together,
Yeah.
just kind of like how we all, our cities that we live in, we're so proud of everyone teaming up and doing things together. I mean, I think they want to create neighborhoods just like we have, but right now they don't really have them. I mean, it's not, and I'm sure the temperature has something to do with it, but
Well, absolutely.
yeah,
The,
Mike,
the,
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was in Jordan for a while, and one of there was a new a prince or king who'd taken over. The previous Shah had died, and he was very keen on getting irrigation into the desert, and he really was quite focused on it. What I found was that the big thing was that you have a modernizing monarch or modernizing leader, but quite often the cabinet and the people either elected or appointed are a bit more Luddite. So that the king makes a decree, and they all say, "Oh yes, Your Majesty," da da da, and then they all get into a cabal to see how they can avoid doing it.
Boy, that's a good plan. I think I should try and figure out those political maneuvers. I think
Yes.
politics can ruin a good idea.
Now, I was quite interested in seeing what was trending in television, and one of the things that this past year programs have been the reconstruction of big projects. And I was particularly taken because one of the very popular ones was the reconstruction of Notre Dame Cathedral,
Yeah.
in which you had a particular interest and which we did a program on. Now, as an architect, what big projects have caught your eye over this past year?
Well, let's see. What's been going on? I feel like I've been so overwhelmed with work. I don't know that I necessarily. Well, we'll talk about the projects in Ground Zero, down in the World Trade Center. I just brought my class because I'm still teaching my class on professional practice. I brought them to see a couple of firms, and then we walked to the World Trade Center site. And the Greek Orthodox Church that was designed by Calatrava was just finished. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's an interesting design. I think I know what he was trying to do. So that's an important project that obviously took quite a long time to build and finish because literally it just opened. And then the other project that's also there is the Perelman Arts Center, which is a project that has, and actually so does the Greek Orthodox Church. It has, it uses stone as a translucent material. So the buildings actually glow from within, but it's through a thin stone set, which is pretty incredible. So, so those are two projects that I think start to talk about stretching kind of materials and using materials in different ways. I mean, other things that we're doing in the United States, which I don't know if it's happening around the world, I have to investigate, but we're making really big investments in our airports. And I mean, it's really sorely needed. I mean, I don't, next time you come to the United States, make sure you don't go through Newark. I shouldn't say that. I mean, it needs such a renovation. Yeah, I mean, we're the architecture firm Studio Gang. They won the Chicago airport project, and so they're redoing Chicago. And I mean, it's an incredible design. It's really going to be one of those projects that will last 50 years. So it's kind of exciting.
Yes. Well, actually, Chicago Airport is one that I do know a little bit about. I think it would be about 1998 or 1999. I did a series on Beyond 2000, which looked at what was going to happen in various sectors, in the new millennium. And I went to Decatur in Illinois to Archer Midlands Daniels to talk about agriculture and so on and so forth. And I had to go through Chicago Airport so that I could catch this feeder flight down to Decatur. And I spent some 4 or 5 hours waiting there. And I can't say that it was a very happy experience.
Exactly. Well, hopefully when you come back, let's see, I don't know when the airport will be finished. They take such a long time. I mean, those projects that go over 5-10 years are pretty wild, but.
Well, tell them I haven't got that long. Would they please hurry it up?
I'll tell them immediately. I'll get off the phone. As soon as I get off the phone, I'm gonna call them up, let them know.
Suzanne, it's now 10:57. It's always a delight to talk to you. And I hope that you'll join us on the 22nd. But next Monday comes before that, so I hope that you'll be around. I'm sorry to haul you out of bed at such an ungodly hour, but you always look so beautiful, and as if it doesn't bother you one little bit.
You're so nice. That's why I join you, because you're so complimentary. Thank you.
Well, it is well deserved, if I may say so. We'll talk to you soon, and thank you for being with us this morning.
Great to see you, Keith. Okay,
bye.
Ciao.
Bye. There we are, Suzanne Mouchot from New York, and it is in fact 10:58. So I think what we might do is, shall we remind you about, if I can find it, our Christmas Day. Let's see, is this a Christmas? I can't get that one. What do we do on Christmas Eve? Well, here's a reminder.
God rest ye merry gentlemen, let nothing you dismay. Remember Christ the Savior was born on Christmas Day to save us all from Satan's power when we had gone astray. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy. From God our Heavenly Father, a blessed angel came, and unto certain shepherds brought tidings of the same, how that in Bethlehem was born the Son of God by name. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy. Comfort and joy. Tidings of comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy.
So there we go. Let's just get rid of me for a moment. And from me and from Suzanne and from Melissa, a very good morning. I hope you enjoy the white stuff while it's still here. Look forward to joining us tomorrow morning, and we wish you a very pleasant rest of the day. Toodle pip.
Thank you.